Aloha and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Got Your Six podcast. This 6-question podcast brings together high performers to share their methods, strategies, and ideas, delivered in an informative and, most importantly, actionable way that'll help you lead yourself and those around you from the battlefield to the boardroom. Coming to you every episode, I'm your host, Tony Nash. And into the breach.
Nothing mentioned on this podcast is an endorsement or opinion of the Department of Defense.
I got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. I got your six.
Sixers, what an unbelievable treat today. Not only is he a Navy SEAL, CrossFit legend, fitness enthusiast, coffee aficionado, the list could go on. I could spend a whole episode just talking about his accomplishments. We're not going to do that because you're here for him, not me. Josh Bridges, thank you so much for coming on the Got Your Six podcast, brother.
Man, Tony, thanks for having me on. I'm super stoked to sit and chat with you.
Absolutely. And as am I. We fangirled before the episode started for like 30 seconds. You talked about how you're thankful for your discipline. How is that the thing that you take away from the military that really has impacted your life and continue to, allow you to get to the success where you're at? Or is there something else that you really go back to from that time?
No, I think it all started in college wrestling, and then continued on into the military, in my military career and CrossFit career, just having discipline, right? Understanding that you have priorities and you have goals. And when you do, to get to those goals, you have to have a plan and to be disciplined to stick with the plan. And that's something I'm just thankful that I was able to do. It's easy to give up hope sometimes. Sometimes you can't see the end, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just the overwhelming length of trying to achieve something great can just be daunting. And being disciplined and staying in the moment, staying in the day, in the training, and understanding that it's all working towards something that's it's hard to do. And so I'm very thankful that I was able to stay disciplined in my journey.
So was it at I think it was Lindenwood University where you first paid him? You paid the man there, and is that where it all began?
I mean, I would even kick back to high school wrestling, man. I had a phenomenal high school wrestling coach, Craig Martin. Shout out to him. I don't believe he's still at St. Charles. I went to St. Charles West High School. It's in St. Charles, St. Louis, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis. Okay. And he was the one who really, he pushed me, man. He pushed me, into places that I didn't know that I was willing to go. And he got more out of me as a wrestler, as a person, than I ever expected to. And so I'm very thankful to him. I think that's where it really started. Moving on into college wrestling was, a phenomenal experience. It is actually, so I only wrestled for a year, and it was actually one of the more a learning moment for me where I didn't have the discipline. I decided after a season, I was like, no, I'm done wrestling. I hated my wrestling coach in college. My brother quit wrestling. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to follow his footsteps. I think this is, correct. And I dropped out of college, and then, I went down this path for a few years of just not being disciplined, not working out, not paying the man. And it was super eye-opening to me. And I'm very thankful that I had to go through that time, because if I didn't, I don't know if I would have gone into the military or pursued the CrossFit career. So yeah, it's, we all have our ups and downs, and very thankful for all of mine.
Now, during that time when you were kind of trying to find yourself and understand your purpose and, really embody discipline, was that when you were a loan officer? Yeah.
I was a telemarketer for a year and a half, and then a loan officer for 3 years. And that is
3 years,
3 years, man. It was brutal. It was, and it put things into perspective for me. It allowed me to realize that wasn't the path I wanted to go, right? I didn't want to be in that world. I didn't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't want to be sitting in a cubicle every day wondering, is this where I'm going to be for the next 40, 50 years? And I met a buddy named Mike Singer who, kind of introduced me to CrossFit and Navy SEALs. I didn't really know what a Navy SEAL was at the time. I'm from, St. Louis, Missouri is landlocked. There ain't no ocean around us, but he introduced me to it, and you know, I started to like get back into the swing of things, and immediately fell in love with CrossFit and like the mentality that it gave me, where I had to push as hard as I could in workouts. And it kind of became a race too. It became competitive. And so I loved it, and decided to, dabble into the Navy. And it was just, I wanted a challenge, and I found it.
And as you fight for that adrenaline, right? Like I think you said the other day that was beautiful. Like you're not finding that adrenaline sitting on the couch. And there's nothing wrong with resting, especially as athletes continue to age and, goals and shifts change. But how are you chasing that adrenaline now? And like, in what kind of new skill set or talent are you working on to like continue to hone and chase down that path?
Yeah, now it's more about being fit for life, right? Being able to do whatever I want with my kids, being able to move a piece of furniture in my house and I don't have to call a buddy. It's like as simple as that. I don't have to worry, oh, can I pick this chair up and move it up the stairs? Yeah, I can. I'll be just fine. And being healthy, right? Like it's more like the longevity game now for me, like how I want to be as healthy and as good a shape as I can for the rest of my life, so that I can go play soccer or play football with my kids or basketball with my kids. And I can, like go on hikes if I want to go do something crazy in hikes. I don't have anything competitively right now pushing me, and it's kind of nice. It kind of takes a little bit of stress away. It's just now I'm working out for myself and finding that love of just going into the gym to, be a healthy, fit person. And so really enjoying that, really enjoying, also working on my programming, like my programming for my military folks, especially my military firefighters and police officers. Yeah. That's my main focus now, is giving back to those men and women who are, trying to pursue their goals in their endeavors, because it's so cool helping those guys out. Because when I was going through, man, like there wasn't as much exposure as there is now for those types of careers and how to train properly for them. There was a couple guys, that you could look up and find some stuff, but man, like I took the time, I put in so much hours of work and like fine tuning my skills to where I knew that there was nothing that when I went through buds was going to stop me. And so now I get to give back, and I'm still, now I'm learning as I get older too, like, okay, maybe that wasn't completely necessary. That was probably a little bit overkill. And so now I get to fine tune it for these people who, I get messages every day of people crushing selections, and that's so cool to hear. Every day I get a message, and it's fucking awesome, because that
fires me up.
I know I was so like, when I watched the guys go through my buzz class with me and watching so many of them quit, and you're like, man, like you gave up on your goals and dreams that quickly. And it's because I knew they just didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan to go in. They wanted to hope their way to their goal and rely on their athletic ability. And man, like with something like that, it's just not going to happen.
What are you saying to yourself when you have to break the glass and grab for the plan? What's going through your mindset at that point when you got to dive a little bit deeper and go a little bit in that like dark place?
For me, man, it's when I don't think, right? When my brain shuts off completely, and I'm just like, I'm relying on everything all the work that I put into it before, right? Because if I have to start talking to myself, then I'm in a really bad place. But when I do, I'm just telling myself, listen, like there's other men have come through and done this, right? Like a great Master Chief once said to me, we had great mentors and instructors when we went into buds, right? And you had these Master Chiefs that would come in and talk to you and give you motivation when you were right before buds started, right before you phase up. And this one Master Chief looked at us and he goes, lesser men than you have come through and done this, so why can't you? And like for me, it's like if he can do it, I can do it, right? For me, it resonated so hard. I was like, whoa. You're right. And like from that moment on, there was nothing in my mind now that I can't see. Like if that guy can do it, I can do it. Right. So whatever it is, I'm going to go get it done, because no one's going to, nothing's going to stop me. So yeah, it's tough. It's, like everyone has those moments though, where they start to let little moments of weakness creep in, right? Tell yourself, oh man, maybe you should slow down. Maybe you should stop. Maybe you should quit. You tell those fucking things to pipe down. Sorry for that. Sorry.
This is why we put the E on the episode. You got me fired up. We're going to move together.
Let's go.
And it's that tactical optimism that I really think is just an absolute game changer. And you did such a beautiful job of describing what that looks like for you, because as you were saying, to go back a little bit, your mobility game is a lot different, and how you recover is a lot different than when it was when you were placing second in the CrossFit Games in 2011.
Yeah, for sure. It's huge, man. Like being able to recover now as I'm 39 years old. And I mean, as my career went on, I looked into every single thing that I could legally do, right? To figure it out, right? To be able to where I could recover faster and train more. And so like, man, being mobile, right? Stretching, acupuncture, cupping, hyperbaric chambers, hypobaric chambers, like all of it, man. I went full throttle into everything. And, I figured out what worked and what didn't work for me. And now I'm just like thankful I get to pass the knowledge along.
What has been the most enduring that it's allowed you to kind of like meet the alchemist?
For recovery?
Yeah.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture?
Well, yeah, like acupuncture, man, like I felt like it held my body together. It was crazy. And I don't know if it was like physically doing something or if it was like mentally as well. But man, like I believe in it wholeheartedly. I believe in Eastern medicine, right? I believe in preventative medicine over, hey, something's wrong, let's fix it, And so acupuncture and cold plunging, what I would say would be my two biggest things since, learning over the years. It's just been huge. It's been like the cold tub. I started getting really sick all the time when my boys started getting into school and sports and everything. The little germs, bring all the little buddies' germs home with them. And I was getting sick once a month.
Wow.
And I was like, man, what is going on? And this was heavy into training, 16, 17. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out why my immune system was so beat down. Learned a little bit, someone showed me who Wim Hof was, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I loved the cold exposure. And so I, started to dabble in it. And to be honest, what's so funny is the cold. If anybody asked me what my biggest challenge in the military was, it was the cold water. I hated it. I found two biggest dudes. I told them to hold me close anytime we had to go lay and surf. And so, so now I still do it daily. I get in the cold water every day for a couple minutes, 3 minutes, neck deep, and just, it's like a form of meditation. And, I think it helps with inflammation. I think it helps with, changing your mood, all mitochondrial biogenesis. We can get into like the crazy, stupid stuff that it's too dumb. My brain's not big enough to really understand all of it, but I try to use big words to sound smart.
Well, that's why you're like Dr. Richard Feynman, where you can break things down that are super complex to for people like me. And I'm grateful for it.
No, man, I'm not that smart either. I'm just anything that I know I don't want to do is probably what I should be doing. And I know I don't, and I don't ever want to get in cold water. And so it's like, I guess I should be doing that. And, it's helped. It's like literally, I can probably count the number of times I've been sick on one hand since I started doing it.
Wow. And you have a phenomenal video on YouTube. We'll make sure we link in the show notes of what it looks like to be able to do cold plunging at the house.
Yeah. Well, now there's obviously a lot more options. Some can be very expensive, right? You can get up into the, $5,000 to $10,000 range for a cold tub, which, if you have the money, I believe wholeheartedly it's a great investment. But if you can't, there are ways around it. There is the chest freezer, and so that's a very easy, quick. When my buddy told me that, I went and bought it that day.
And watching you do that DIY video is one of my favorite Josh Bridges videos of all times.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's cool.
And then going through that, right, and understanding like that was something you weren't doing before, and you had no clue, like you said, you weren't doing. Where now, as you're like looking to carry furniture up the stairs, and I know sometimes you might be throwing like a sofa bed couch on your back and carrying it up the stairs, where I'm thinking like just like a dining room chair. Where has your behaviors changed now that you're just looking to be healthy for the rest of your life? Pick up your kids, play sports.
Yeah, I would say, I just, I still eat very, very strict, because I wasn't feeling well. I think I started to have some issues, some stuff that was going on that I was like, what's wrong with me? And, I think I just, I I needed to change the way I was eating and, dabble into some different stuff. And so that's been, I feel like that's been a big game changer as well, is eating correctly. And eating correctly is, and when I say that, because I'm not a dietitian, I'm not someone who knows a ton about, I'm not going to claim to be some sort of scientist or whatever, or doctor, but, like I eat like raw, I eat a lot of red meat. I eat a lot of fruit, and I eat a lot of honey and eggs. Like that's about it. I've really cut out a lot of nuts and seeds. I've cut out green leafy veggies. I do eat a sweet potato here and there, but that's been like one of the biggest game changers as well. And just being strict with it, and not too strict to where like you're a psycho.
Yeah.
But like, and you don't enjoy life. You can't enjoy life sometimes. But like, I kind of live by like an 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% of the time I'm doing the right thing. 80% of the time I'm eating correctly. 80% of the time I'm doing what I should be doing, just to live a long, healthy life. And then 20% of the time, like I'm going to dabble into the things that I know I probably shouldn't be doing because I have kids, right? I don't want to deprive them of having pizza and burgers and, things like that.
Plus, every once in a while, those like gummy snacks just look too good to pass up, and you got to pop a few just to taste test to make sure everything's
right. Man, exactly making sure that it's legit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been interesting, right? Like growing and trying to figure it all out, and see what works for you. And I'm not a closed-minded person. I'm very open-minded, and I'm very much a believer that if I'm stuck in my ways, then I'm probably wrong. Right. If I think this is the only right way, I'm probably wrong. And that's probably one of my biggest takeaways in 39 years is like, because when you're young, it's really easy to see everything in black and white, right? Everything's either this way or this way's right and this way's wrong. Yep. And as you get older, man, you just start to realize like, no, like everything's constantly changing. We're learning new shit every day. We're learning what our bodies are capable of, are more capable of now. And, what's the best way to recover? What's the best way to eat? What's this, and it's like, it's constantly evolving and constantly changing. And, I'll be a test dummy for my kids so that I can teach them what I find out.
How were you able to get to that level of humility to be able to kind of check yourself in the sense of like, you're constantly iterating as opposed to like, this is the way it is. And this is the only way it'll ever be.
I think it just takes life experience, right? I think it takes growing up and having seen things that, you don't want to see or experiencing things that you didn't want to experience and taking it as a positive instead of a negative and going down a negative way and being like, okay. And just always self-analyzing, right? Always looking inside internally and being like, not one of my buddies, Brian Shantosh, phenomenal dude.
Tosh, shout out.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. You know Tosh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, one of his sayings is right, like don't believe your own bullshit. And I think that that really resonated with me as well, where it's like it gets very easy to get caught up and start to believe your own bullshit. And when you can actually look in the mirror, self-analyze, self-criticize, and fix, those positions and understand like, hey man, like you're not always right. And to be honest, I don't even know what I don't know. And so it's like, it's been great, and you live a happier life when you can be open-minded and be more accepting of things. It's just, it's not always black and white. And that's I guess, I don't know.
No, and that's a great point too, because there's been times, more recently than anything else, especially in my current role, where I have been able to say like, I don't have an opinion on this because I just don't have enough information.
Yeah.
And you're just still in receive mode, try to understand and like sort things out, like what's true, what's not true, to get to like actually the root. And then by the time you get there, it's like, I didn't really need an opinion to begin with. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, not having an opinion is a very good stance sometimes. It's a very good place to be because you don't have to always have an opinion on stuff. I love reading Stoicism, and Stoics, one of the best quotes is, sometimes a healthy opinion is not having an opinion. And I was like, man, it's like, dude, that was that. Like, I mean, there's just like so many other quotes, so many of Marcus Aurelius and all the other great Stoics. they're just like, it's just like so, just a great way to think, right? Like, you know, have your opinion when you want to have your opinion, but sometimes you don't have to have one.
Right. And that's kind of like, I think where you would check yourself too, because you read something like that and you're like, wait a second, I'm not doing that. So I need to kind of like give this, let this kind of like sit for a little bit.
Yeah.
Embrace the, like that white space and that quiet noise around me instead of trying to like go and act.
Right. Like we used to always do, you know, a thing in the military whenever we would obviously insert into a, you know, our infill into a target or infill into our whatever, our insert into our op, right? Yeah. Like we get off of our mobility unit, whatever it was, or whether it was helicopters, Humvees or whatever, you know, we obviously all basically set up a perimeter and we sit down and we take a knee for 5 minutes. And right, it's like just look, listen, and feel, right? Like take in your surroundings and kind of like really understand what you're about to walk into. And man, like that's been something huge for my life, right? Like when having a knee-jerk reaction in anything is always a bad thing. And being able to sit back, analyze it, self-analyze, and then really figure out what you need to do at that point, right? Just take a knee for a second, take a breath, take it in, figure out what's really happening before you just like run into it.
That tactical patience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because if you do go and run into it, right, you can sometimes, like you were saying earlier with life experience, it's not going to be a highlight reel. You're going straight to the bottom and hitting failure.
Or you're missing something that was very vital or very important, right? Yeah. You just didn't see it. And you just did because you didn't take the time to sit back and really look, right? You're like, oh, yep, there it is. Boom, go. I got to go. And don't get me wrong. There is a time and a place to have those type of mentalities. But man, like there's a lot of times where you do need to sit back and just take that tactical pause.
Where is there an example you can think of where you missed something vital that led to failure?
Oh, not too many times to count, man. You know what I mean? I mean, it depends on what we're talking about, right? CrossFit, there's lots, right? There's lots of it. And that's very easy to do because it's a sporting event, right? Sometimes you don't have that time to take a knee. You know, so there's a lot of instances where I look back and I was like, damn, that was just stupid. That was just me being dumb and being over anxious and not patient. Yeah. So, you know, there's been times in other parts of my life, that I've done it as well. I mean, lots of them, you know, like businesses.
If you were to share one, whether it's business, CrossFit, wrestling, wherever.
If we want to talk about wrestling, quitting college wrestling, you know, was probably one of my biggest. I made a quick decision like that. My brother did it. And I was like, yeah, good call. Me too. Let's go. You know, God, looking back, that's one of my, you know, things I wish I could go back and redo. But looking, you know, now being where I'm at now, I don't know if I'd be where I was at if I didn't do that. Right. Because it was such an eye-opening experience for me. It led me to 4 years of being in a job where I hated myself every day. I hated what I was doing every day. And it led me to a path where I love every day of my life. You know, like I'm very lucky, very fortunate to be where I'm at now because of the choices that I did make after that. And so I hate to say I would go back and change it, you know, but I did, you know, I do look back and regret that I quit wrestling. Not where it took me, but you know, giving up on myself and giving up on my team and everything.
It's not the event, but it's the action that you took that really just kind of sits with you and like, that kind of propels you to, you know, continue to go forward to where you are today. Like you're saying.
Right. Because you know, your athletic career is a shelf life, like anything. Right. And you only get so many years of wrestling or sports typically. And so, you know, to give up on myself that easy, but that was just the mindset that I was in at that time. Right. I blamed all my surroundings. I didn't hold myself accountable. I had that victim mentality. And I think those are the two things that, you know, holding yourself accountable and stop trying to be a victim. Like those two things can change people's lives for the better. And we all have them. We all have those moments, like we want to blame other people for our situation or our circumstances, but really it's just us. We have to look internally, and that's when you find the growth.
Right. And, if you look at whether it's a comic book or even just anybody in real life, those heroes that stand out are because of their environment, right? No matter wherever it is and whatever adversity is going on, when you're able to overcome that allows people to just kind of look at it and be like, yes, that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do. That's
right.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, it is. It's cool.
And as we kind of wrap up, Josh, and we could talk all day. You talked about discipline, holding yourself accountable, but Josh Bridges, today, how are you better than yesterday?
I treat every day like it's a day that you have to go out and you have to continue to pay your rent, right? Like I don't ever think that I'm where I want to be. I'm always trying to be better and grow. And so even I'll have days where I talked about getting into the cold tub every day. Well, there's days I definitely be like, you know what? It's a little too cold, a little too chilly. I just don't feel like I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee instead. Right. And so always constantly growing on that, working on that. Right. And so this morning I kind of woke up and I remember thinking, I think I'm just gonna have coffee. And then I got out of my bed and made the bed or whatever. And I was like, you know what? You said you didn't want to. So not that, if you want to try to stop believing your own bullshit, that's fine. Right. But so I went down and got in the cold tub. And so I'd say that was a win for me today.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. Josh, where can people go find out more about the programming that you're offering, all the different businesses and stuff that you're involved with?
Yeah, there's a few different spots, right? If you want to find the programming for, we got military, firefighter, law enforcement, and then just regular programming for anybody who just wants to try it. It's at josh-bridges.com. You can follow me on Instagram at BridgesJ3. And then, Good Dudes Coffee if you're looking for a great cup of coffee.
The best cup of coffee.
Damn right, Tony.
Hey, real recognizes real. Josh, thank you for sharing your strategies, your methods, your tactics, and most importantly, thanks for having our six today, brother. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it, man.
I don't know what you've been told, Sixers, but the lawyers would like us to remind you that the views, opinions, and comments expressed on the Got Your Six podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests, to include current and previous Department of Defense employees, and should in no way be considered the opinions of or endorsements on behalf of the Department of Defense or any of its components, divisions, contractors, or other current and previous staff members.